there's no shot. There's no shot. There's I will pay you $100 and take 3 shots on the cast of Blue Lightning Moonshine if that happens. This is why I know that we're not that crazy. This is why I know that our opinions and thoughts on how this is going to roll out isn't wild, because this guy's over here picking this Final Four and he's on a national TV coverage. I mean, it's on ESPN and we all know how ESPN is, but I don't think we're as crazy as, people like to point out. His Final Four was Baylor, Pitt, Michigan, and Texas A&M. So let's break it down by those 4 quadrants, okay? And let's see how he got there. So when you hear it, you're like, there's no way. But then if you look at it, I was like, okay. Okay, so let's look at Pittsburgh first. Is Pittsburgh even? Okay, they're ranked 17th. Now, they lost the number 1 wide receiver in the country, and they lost Tiny Hands, which is crazy to me. West Virginia, they play first. Who also has, what's-his-face from Georgia? The quarterback, the transfer. Gosh, I got to get better with these names. Daniel, right? What's his name? Come on, Steve. Right. That sounds right.
Hold on. I'm going over the schedule right now.
Oh, my gosh. What's his name? JT Daniels. Okay. Killing me there. West Virginia. So that game, to me, isn't a shoe-in game. There it is, shoe-in again. Take a shot, everybody. So that's
a big game. There's rivalry in that game.
That's a Thursday night game, boys. That's a Thursday night game. Let's go. 7 p.m. Let's get it off. Start off right. Oh, I love me some college football. I'm dialed in. I'm fired up, baby. Then you got Tennessee at home, but Tennessee. That's game 2. All right, so let's say they squeak out 2-0, because I think they're going off of, like, Pittsburgh's coming off of a good year. They should be able to win those 2 games at home. Let's just give it to them. West Virginia W, Rhode Island W, Georgia Tech W, Virginia Tech W, Louisville W, North Carolina W, Syracuse W, Virginia W, Duke W, then Miami. So that's going to be, again, the deciding factor. You play Miami, you go to the ACC Championship. If you're rolling that hard, yes, I don't see them winning 3 of those games. The Miami game, I see them winning. I think Miami's a little bit overrated. The West Virginia-Tennessee game, I see them coming 1-1 out of that. They come out 2-0. Desmond's prediction doesn't seem as crazy as everyone thinks it is. Yeah, because look, because the road to get there, the ACC is not that hard. This is not me taking a shot, Steve. I know you always like to get personal and your feelings get all worked up. But if with the ACC being as easy as it is, I don't think Clemson's going to be what everyone thinks Clemson's going to be, and I don't think Miami is going to be as talented as they think it is either. So that isn't crazy, all right? I don't want to take too much time, but we're in agreement that, look, it could happen. That's how all this is. Now, for him to leave Alabama out is a little outrageous to me, but obviously that's where the Texas A&M comes into play. So if we think about the 4 quadrants here, like who made it last year? It was Michigan, Cincinnati, Georgia, and Bama.
Alabama.
Okay, so we're basically taking Pittsburgh and replacing, let's say, Cincinnati. That's not that crazy. It really isn't. It's not. A Cincinnati team made it last year, okay? So there's the one. The second one is Baylor. That one to me is not crazy at all. Like, it honestly isn't.
No, not at all. Actually, I that pick is consistent with him and Herbie. Both of them think that Baylor's going to make that move, which means that for the first time in a long time, we're going to see a playoff without Oklahoma. I know look, they're going through a lot of transition, but I mean, as long as the playoffs have been around, it feels like Oklahoma always finds a way to sneak themselves in there at the last minute to have a shot at it. I know they didn't last year, but my gosh, it just feels like Oklahoma just almost has like a designated spot at the table at this point.
So real quick though, they say Clemson's stacked. Clemson is, but they don't have to play Clemson until the ACC championship. If Clemson makes it to the ACC championship, which. So that's part of it as well. Are they on the same side, though?
No.
Okay, yeah, because they don't play each other. They wouldn't. That doesn't make sense. All right, so Baylor plays Albany first, W, shoe-in. Plays BYU, W. Texas Tech, W. Iowa State, W. Oklahoma State, that's going to be their game. Like, look, all these teams have a game, right? So obviously he's taking them over Ohio State because that Oklahoma State, is in Baylor. Didn't Baylor and Oklahoma State? You and I bet on that game last year. They played in
I believe so.
The Big 12 championship, and who won that game? Was it Baylor?
I think it was Baylor.
I think it was Oklahoma State. I think I took Oklahoma State.
Was it?
You took. I think so. I don't look it up. Look it up while I keep going down. West Virginia again. West Virginia could be a threat at that point, or just be West Virginia. Kansas, LOL. Texas Tech, LOL. Oklahoma again. I don't see Oklahoma being this powerhouse of a school. Kansas State, TCU, and Texas. And you play in the Big 12, which could be an Oklahoma or an Oklahoma State, and you've already played them once. Again, it's not that crazy. They were to me, in my opinion, they were close. I said the winner of that game has the potential to make it into the Final Four. We talked about it last year because a few things needed to happen in front of them. I think Cincinnati needed to lose, obviously, and I think Notre Dame needed to lose. But they were close last year, in my opinion, on cracking that playoff spot. So again, not a wild prediction for Desmond there.
No, I like the Baylor pick. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they've got a favorable schedule, and they've got a good team. To be completely honest with you, it's not as if they're walking out there and just kind of getting by. They beat Oklahoma State last year, 24-14. No, they lost. Oklahoma State lost 21-16 to Baylor.
Here's where Desmond loses me, is the Texas A&M pick. And this isn't because I don't think Texas A&M is not going to be a good football school. But what he's telling me is that Texas A&M is going to beat Bama. That's not crazy. That's a reasonable possibility. What he's telling me, though, is that Texas A&M is only going to lose one game. There's no way Texas A&M goes undefeated. They play Miami. This is their run right here. Two nobody schools, right? And they play Miami, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Florida, Auburn, UMass, and LSU. That is a beast of a schedule. Any way you want to slice it, that is a beast of a schedule. To come out there unscathed is going to be, yes, if they go through that, obviously they're going to be in the championship. Let's say they beat Bama. They're going to drop one of the other games. I truly believe they will. It's either going to be a Florida, it could be a Ole Miss game, it could be like all these games are at home too, except Bama, which is going to be beneficial for them. I can see now why he's thinking that. Miami, Arkansas, Florida, Ole Miss, LSU, all at home. I just don't see them pulling that off. I really don't. I'm not sold on them just yet. The King is named the starting quarterback as of yesterday, but they have to win all those games. They have to beat Bama. Right? Now, if they go undefeated, then yes, that would work. That's the only way, because what Desmond's saying there is that if Bama loses to Texas A&M, that Bama is going to lose another game. I don't see Bama losing another game, right? So A&M would have to go undefeated to top Bama for that top spot for the SEC West, because obviously he's choosing an SEC champion to move on. Right. Georgia has a fairly easy schedule. They don't play any of those. They don't play A&M and they don't play Bama. Georgia does not. So you're telling me it's going to be a Georgia-Texas A&M matchup. That's what I'm assuming his prediction was in the SEC championship. And you're going to say A&M, after that brutal schedule, takes down the defending champions, the Dogs? It could happen.
That's risky. That's risky. Look, TAMU has a home field advantage. I mean, they're one of the best in the country. But my gosh, that even if you've got a lot of advantages going into the game, even if you're matched up well, you're still just asking for just a gambit of a schedule to get through. That's a lot, and if you have any injuries, my gosh, that's very, very difficult to push yourself all the way through that whole thing and be able to push yourself ahead of potentially a Bama or Georgia to get into the top four.
Yeah, that one to me is a stretch. And look, his next would be Michigan in the top four. And so to me, it's going to be Ohio State. That's who I pick. I'm getting ahead of myself on our predictions, but he basically is picking Michigan over Ohio State. I'm taking Ohio State over Michigan. Their schedule is a cakewalk. Colorado State, Hawaii. We just saw what Vandy did to Hawaii. UConn, Maryland, Iowa. Iowa was a fun game, but nope. Indiana, Penn State. Penn State's in shambles. Michigan State, that's going to be a tough one. I think Michigan's the big brother at the moment. Rutgers, Nebraska. Again, that's a story in itself. That could be a game, which we just talked about with Frosty for us, but who knows? Illinois, then Ohio State. How that game is a 12 o'clock game is beyond me. But
what, the Michigan-Ohio State game?
Always, yeah, every year.
Every year?
I mean, I don't mind. It's fun, but it's because they can't compete with the SEC games and stuff. But that game, that's going to be the deciding factor, I think, of who lands the Final Four. To me, it's going to be Ohio State. Ohio State is going to be an absolute powerhouse this year. I would be shocked if they don't win it all, to be honest with you. It's probably going to be Bama, Ohio State. But my 4, let's get into the Final Four here on who we think is going to be there.
Throw it out there.
Bama is going to be my pick. I think they're going to come back with a vengeance. It's not who I want, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to be wrong on all these picks. Bama, and we'll do a halfway mark too. I think that'll be fun. Halfway through the season prediction. Bama, Ohio State is going to be the top 2 of the sides, 1 and 2. And it could be anybody's game. I'm trying to look here and see who I think is going to be up there. I like the Baylor pick. I really do. Based on schedule in Pac-12 and what's in front of them. Because if the guys that we just said are up there, that means like the Clemson can be in that one, but that means like the Texas A&M's not going to be there. I don't think Utah's going to be in the conversation at all. I don't think USC's going to. USC? Hold on. Please hold, please.
Hold on. So, but before you go down that path, I had USC on my list going into this cast. And then as we've been talking, I've done a little bit of research. So USC, you think they have a very, very simple schedule being out there on the Pac, and I know this is going to upset people from Utah and things like that. I'm just saying, from perspective, it seems like it's an easier schedule than some of the other Baylor or Bama, Texas A&M. So they have Rice. They open with Rice. Okay, that should be a win. They open against. Then they have Stanford. Okay, Stanford's down, no big deal. Fresno State should be a win, no big deal. My favorite game of all time in the history of college football is USC versus Oregon State. That is Trojans versus Beavers. They have Arizona State. They have Washington State.
So far, they're undefeated. Right? So far, they're undefeated.
They should be undefeated. Now,
then they play Utah.
Things get dicey. They have to play Utah.
W.
They play Arizona.
W.
Cal.
W.
Colorado.
W.
And then they finish with UCLA.
W.
And then Notre Dame.
W.
Notre Dame is 5 right now. I just want to point that out there. Notre Dame is 5th in the country.
I'm taking USC in the Final Four. I hate to say it, but I would love for it to happen just because football will be back, in my opinion, to get the West Coast involved. I think that schedule, and this is what we talked about with Lincoln Riley going over there, right? Oklahoma was always on the outside looking in because the Pac-12 was a little more competitive, and now he goes there. He's bringing his quarterback. He's got the number 1 wide receiver from Pitt there. O-line troubles, obviously. But again, they have such an easy schedule to find their rhythm, and I believe in Lincoln Riley. So my Final Four right now, or the Final 3, is USC, Bama, and Ohio State. And then the last spot is, I don't think it could be an ACC team. I think the easy pick would be a Clemson. So I'm actually going to go with that. I'm going to say Clemson. I think Clemson finds a way back in. I'm hoping not, but I think I'm going to just kind of take the easy route. So my Final Four is Clemson, USC, Bama, and Ohio State. We'll see.
I like it. Look, throwing an ACC team in there is brave of you, to say the absolute least. I'm not a huge fan of Clemson, not because I'm a Florida State fan, but I just don't get a good feeling out of their quarterback, DJ Ulagawi. I know that their team is talented. I don't get a huge boost of confidence thinking that guy is the new Taj Boyd or any of the quarterbacks they've had come through in the last decade. If they prove me wrong, they prove me wrong. I'm going to go with Bama, Ohio State. I think that they are able to hold their own in the Big Ten. They do have the Michigan-Ohio State game at home this year because they played in Michigan last year.
Wait, who do you have? Sorry. Who do you have?
I'm going to take Bama, Ohio State.
Okay.
I think that Texas A&M sneaks in, even though they have to go through.
Wait,
Bama.
You're gonna have Bama and A&M?
I am. I think that the Bama and and Texas A&M are going into what, because they both have a loss. But if their only losses are to one another, or if their only losses
that's not possible. It won't. Hold on. They can only if Bama goes undefeated and beats A&M, then A&M wouldn't play in the SEC conference, so they would play like a Georgia. I'm not saying you're crazy, but you got let's just play this out here. Think about that.
Yeah, but if that's the case, what if Georgia goes in? We're talking about their final rankings, right? It can be a situation with A&M has one loss or Bama has one loss. They don't have to play in the championship in order to get into it. We've seen that already. We've seen a situation where the team that played in the SEC championship. So
the only look, I'm not saying you're crazy.
Bama got in against Georgia without playing in the SEC championship.
No, Bama got in when they lost the SEC championship.
Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah, you're right. But I'll still take Baylor. I like Baylor.
So Baylor, A&M, Bama, and Ohio State.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Steve, I'm going to give you a chance to rethink that. So the only way A&M gets in, a lot has to happen in front of them. The ACC has to be a complete just dumpster fire.
I think that's the case, though. Yeah, I think that's the case.
So ACC, the USC loses 3 games, 2-3, loses 2-2. Because if USC loses 2 but wins the championship, they're going to be more of an argument than Texas A&M. Now, strength of schedule is going to help Texas A&M, but Texas A&M has 1 loss and it's to Bama. Bama has to then beat a Georgia, but if Georgia only has 1 loss to Bama and it's the SEC championship, Georgia's going to get in. So Georgia's going to have to lose 2+ games. A lot. There's so many
I just feel like Bama and Texas A. I feel like Bama and Texas A&M are 2 top 4 teams that.
You're not wrong. But here's the thing:
I get the logistics.
Too much has to happen to complement for A&M to get in. If A&M,
write it down.
If A&M loses,
if I pull this off,
there's no shot. There's no shot. I will pay you $100 and take 3 shots on the cast of Blue Lightning Moonshine if that happens. It's it would have to be the craziest season of college football history for Bama and A&M to be in it, just based on logistics alone.